Well, hi y'all. I was out here in the garden weeding, and I got sick of weeding, so this video will be full of weeds that you'll just have to conveniently ignore. I decided to do a little video garden tour instead here at the Big Garden, which is a co-effort with my friend Linnea Petty. Linnea lives right over there. So this is the Big Garden. So right up in the front here, this big bed is squash, mostly. Heavy on the squash. And largely breeding project kind of stuff. I'd say some of the more interesting things in here, let's see. This one actually is kind of interesting because it's a species cross. It's a Calabaza temporal, which is a Maxima, and a Mendelnaya pumpkin, which is a Moscata. So that cross shouldn't have worked, but by cutting off every other bloom on that particular female last year, Calabaza, I managed to make it happen. And we got crappy germination. Those two right there, I probably sowed 30 seeds and got those two to germinate. Ink and Cream Puff here is from Joseph Simcox. It's Peruvian. Always excited about that. Let's see what else is interesting in squash world. I don't know. Not a lot. G'day Okamosan. Grew it last year. Very cool. Lots of stories about where that came from. Who knows what's true. But as you can see, mixed in all over the place in the squash bed here is a bunch of corn. And this corn is all part of an ongoing breeding project. Last year, I let a bunch of Mirai cross to Zola's Rose, which is a really cool red sweet corn from J&L Gardens, and from Blue Jade, which is a little dwarf miniature blue sweet corn. And so this whole bed over here, that's all gonna sort of cross itself. Basically, in each of these little 6-packs, there's 2 straight Mirais that'll get detasseled. There's 2 Mirai open crossed to Zola's and Blue Jade. There's 2 Zola's open crossed to all 3, and there's 2 Blue Jades open crossed to all 3. And then in this middle row, there's more genes I want to incorporate. So all of these in this middle row will get detasseled and just allowed to cross with everything, all the pollen that's in the air. So let's see, there's some more Mirai. There's a different Mirai, 308. There's more Zola's Rose, because I love that corn. There's Maricopa Sweet, which is sort of a Native American sweet corn from Native Seed Search. There's Sparkler, which is a Jonathan Spiro sweet corn that involves some Anasazi corn genes. Big fan of the Anasazi. And then there's some just pretty flower corns. There's Fire Pink Calico. There's some Hopi Turquoise and some Navajo Robin's Egg. And then there's a real early season sweet corn. There's some Long Island Seed Project Ashworth. So all those genes. There's obviously some sunflowers on the end. They just kind of volunteer back every year at the ends of all of our rows. Because we like sunflowers, and I've never really observed that allelopathic thing they supposedly have. There's a little, as Linnea says, superfluous beauty on the end here. There's some Datura from Utah, because I think it's a really cool flower. And then down here at the other end, there's a bunch of little watermelons. We had kind of a hard time after getting transplanted, but are kicking back and growing if they're not glared out by the sun. Here, and you'll see a theme in all the beds of extra tomatoes shoved in anywhere I can get them. This year, I think I have 3 open pollinated plants out of about 650. It's all ongoing breeding projects. And you can see all of my tomatoes, I double plant in each hole. This is a Damascus Steel Mikado Rose 4. These guys all in here. What I found is that they don't seem to care that much. I'm sure I lose a bunch of per plant production, but I get to see a lot more of the genetic possibilities, so it's more interesting to me. More tomatoes shoved in on the end here. And then the big tomato bed. It's 12 rows of about 48 plants a row. And they were kind of unhappy when they got planted, but they're getting happier. It's heating up, it's nice. IRT 100 mulch on everything, and then just 8-inch emitter drip tape underneath. The only thing that's really not IRT'd in the whole bed is the potatoes here, which is where you'll most have to just ignore the weeds. Most of these potatoes that I'm growing this year are from stuff I started from True Potato Seed last year. Seeds from our buddy Maury Eelbite up in Canada. So it'll be cool to see how the production goes coming from tubers this year. There's a few little mini hugelkultur beds scattered around. This one's got some melons, some muskmelons, and some peppers in it. Big one in the middle where the big squash came out of last year. Gets a rego on squash. There's another Mockery giant plant in there. And a few peppers and a couple wild tomatoes that I'm going to use for some breeding projects. And then this little mini hugel bed has some more watermelons in it and some more peppers. And then we have Strawberry World over here. So it's strawberry time. Our favorite strawberries right here, the Snowviets. It's a super cool little white alpine strawberry from Sweden. They taste kind of like pineapple crossed to cotton candy. Delicious. And they runner like crazy. So this whole bed is new little transplanted runners this year. And then I have a bunch of other kind of experimental strawberries I've acquired various places. This is Amore. It's European. There's some Chilean stuff over here. Some Fragaria Chileoenses, these guys right here, which are not blooming right now. Fukuba right here from Japan. Absolutely super delicious. It's finally this year, after 4 years, started producing runners. So I'm trying to root some of the runners. This dude, which I took a picture of, and we've eaten them all. Another thing that just sat there for years and finally fruited this year because we had a lot of snow. This is Fragaria iterpensis. It's from Iterp Island in the Sakhalin Islands in Russia. It could be that the only places it's growing right now are the Sakhalin Islands and Haley, Idaho, which would be pretty hilarious. This is Weisse Nasa. This guy actually get a little yellower. It's German. I'm growing out that Fukuba back there's an F1 hybrid, but I actually planted some seeds. I'm growing out some F2s this year. And then I have some crosses I've made that I have little plants started for. That'll go right here. And then the big corn bed here, this is all Mirai. Pretty much all Mirai. 3 different kinds of Mirai with slightly different ripening dates. So we have a bit of an extended season. There is in the mix here some Hopi turquoise corn. That's what's in between the lines because I think it's really pretty. For that same breeding project, I'm going to detassel it and let it cross to the Mirai. And then over here is Pepperland. Really, you can just sort of never have too many peppers. Or at least that's the philosophy we've taken. I think there's about 600 plants. And it's mostly hot stuff. And it's mostly green chilies, honestly. I'm a New Mexican. And we feel about green chilies the way the French feel about wine. It exists other places, but it's all inferior. So I still import a bunch of green chili from the New Mexico homeland. But I do like growing my own supply. More tomatoes shoved in on the end everywhere. And then this is kind of, I call it the weird stuff row. ground cherries and gooseberries largely. Bunch of different kinds of ground cherries and gooseberries here. Including some really cool ones that friends have brought me. There's some from Hawaii here. Some friends brought me back. There's some Costa Rican ones down there on the end. Here, this Linnea and her husband Justin were in Thailand this last year. Got some really good stuff out of Thailand. So these are some Thai ground cherries growing from that. There's some Wonderberries. If you've never had Wonderberries, they're actually really delicious. Is there a ripe one here? Doesn't look like there's any ripe ones yet. A bunch of little baby green ones. They ripen really black. They taste kind of like huckleberries. Some Balo melons. Some Costa Rican ground cherries that are really good. And then the majority of this bed back here, this is all various muskmelons. Another thing you can really never have too many of. Especially those white ones from Uzbekistan are really good. And the Thai ones, the Thai golden from Baker